DW Africa Link.
If the police is failing to tackle crime, why not try the military? Well, that's the situation in South Africa. The country's military has been deployed against gangs and illegal mining because violent, organized crime has become a systemic threat to its democracy and economy. So what's driving crime high in South Africa? And are soldiers the answer?
I welcome the army. I would welcome the army. I think it was in the early 2000s where the army was also deployed to come in. And then there was a state of emergency. There was order. There was people had to be in the house a certain time. And the crime went down, but when the army left, it went back to normal. So I would welcome the army, to bring some order.
That's what's coming up. I am Eddy Micah Jr., and you are welcome to Africa Link, the podcast connecting you to the stories that matter.
Africa Link, every weekday here on DW.
South Africa remains one of the most violent societies in the world. In 2024 alone, more than 26,000 people were killed, giving the country one of the highest homicide rates globally. Early figures for 2025 and 2026 show some improvement, with murders down by around 9% and overall violent crime falling by about 7% toward the end of 2025. But even government ministers admit the levels are still unacceptably high. And so in his recent State of the Nation address, President Ramaphosa announced that the South African National Defence Force will be deployed to support the police in tackling gang violence, illegal mining, and other entrenched criminal networks. To explore this, let's bring in Andy Mashaile, a security strategist and retired Interpol ambassador. Also joining me is DW correspondent Thuso Khumalo in South Africa. Welcome to Africa Link. Thuso, tell us more about why the army has to be called in and how communities are experiencing crime daily.
Maybe let's start with gang violence that we've seen in different parts of the country. We've got some young people as young as 14 shooting each other daylight, and it has become a norm in some few areas here. We've got children and mothers that are becoming victims of that. And of course, some young people deserting even school to become members of the gang in order to survive because they are victimized if they are not part of those gangs. But I should emphasize that it's not like the whole country, but we've got pockets of the country where that is being experienced. I mean, in Johannesburg area, that's in the Gauteng province. You have got it in Cape Town, that is in the Western Cape province. So you have got these areas where really is bad. But also when we talk about illegal mining, recently we had a whole community around Johannesburg, just west of Johannesburg, running away from their area. About 300 families had to be housed in a hole because some illegal miners had run rampant there, robbing them at night, shooting each other. They felt unsafe there to go and be housed in a hole so that they could be protected. So these are some of the things that we are dealing with. But also with illegal mining, not very long, we had about 10 people being shot dead by a gang of illegal miners that wanted to inflict revenge on another gang in an area called Beckerstyle, somewhere near Johannesburg. So you have got these things that are happening in certain pockets, and it seems police are not managing to deal with those. And of course, now you have residents feeling very unsafe in the hands of the police, and you have some of them saying, yes, we need an army that will deal with these gangs because they are armed, they are very dangerous, so they need them to come in and just deal with the situation. So generally, the mood on the ground is that people are fearful in those areas. It's not the entire country, but in those areas where the president has identified that the army is really needed, you've got communities living in fear, and they're saying maybe the army will be a solution.
Is there a reason violence is concentrated in those areas you talk about?
Generally, the way South Africa is made when it comes to illegal mining, you have got a lot of old gold mines dotted around the Gauteng province, which was a part where most of the gold was mined. And according to the mining ministry, you have got about 6,000 walls that have not been closed where people are getting inside. So you have got people coming from across Africa and across the country getting to these mines. Because some of the mines have more loots than the others, you find them now starting to fight. So that's one part. But when it comes to gang violence, we've got traditionally some pockets in Johannesburg, in Cape Town, areas that are known and being infested by gang violence. And of course, the issue of drugs come in, the issue of territorial thefts come in. So these are the areas that even the president has identified to say, I think at this particular moment, because of things like them being mining areas and them being historically areas where gang violence is infested, maybe we should bring in the army there to quell the situation.
Right. Thanks, Thuso. So, Andy, let me come to you because it sounds like a very critical situation on the ground. Is the army the solution? Because I'm just thinking police should be doing that job. The army is trained for combat. Is that what is needed to prevent crime?
The 2019 experience in Cape Town, as well as the 2020 COVID situation in Gauteng, has taught us lessons. In my line of work, I do a lot of research and do comparative analysis worldwide from my former organization, Interpol. In 2019, the government, or we brought in the army in Cape Town. And the very same people who called for the army were the same people who chased the army away. Just like it happened during the COVID era in Alexander. The army is not trained to do policing. And deploying the army at the Western Cape only says to me there is a serious failure of crime intelligence.
So, Andy, you're basically saying it's not a good idea to deploy the military to handle crime in South Africa. That's basically what you're saying, right?
Yes, that's exactly what I'm saying. If you are going to put up a proper defense intelligence for them to gather intelligence, working hand in glove with crime intelligence, your state security agency, and other agencies from private security companies that would be collecting intelligence, you are going to win. If it's not an intelligence-driven operative, you'll never win.
It's not necessarily proven successful. So why does the president want to do this again, you think?
I am certain that when we play politics, we listen to people, we do what they want, knowing very well that we might not win. When you deploy the army there in Cape Town, you displace, there's a concept called crime displacement. You are going to displace those members of the gang and the organized crime syndicates dealing in either drugs or gun running from Namibia into the Western Cape or South Africa and all over the show. You are going to displace those organized crime syndicate operations to another province where there is no army that is deployed. And when you think that you have won and you remove the army, you send them back to the barracks, you are going to end up with a situation where crime gets replaced. You displaced it, and organized crime syndicates will replace those forms of crime that they have been operating. When you put the army, you displace them, people go into another form of crime, which might be hijacking, which might be cash in transit robberies, which might be house robberies. So you only move the musical chairs from the various forms of crime when you deploy the army. Hence, I believe that it should be intelligence driven. That's the only time that will make you win.
Right. You've spoken quite loud and clear. But Thuso, if I got you right in your earlier submission, for people on the ground, they feel this is the right way to go. Or how mixed are the reactions?
The desperation from most of the citizens is not that bringing in the army is the best solution. I think our expert is very correct or spot on if he says it's not the best. But people are feeling police are not able to protect them. People are feeling, there's a feeling that police are working in cahoots with some of these gangs, with some of these illegal miners, because there have been instances where police are caught on the wrong side, maybe either even carrying the loot that's being mined by these illegal miners, also being found to be carrying even drugs that they are supposed to be fighting against. So people are feeling desperate at the moment, and they think that this temporal solution maybe could solve problems. But I think the deep-rootedness of the problem is that the state has failed the citizens. And for citizens, if they don't protect themselves, then somebody should come and do it. I mean, those who have got money in South Africa, they've got high halls, they've got security guards that are protecting them. But if you don't have that ability, I mean, people are saying maybe the army is the best thing. But of course, it has not been the best. Like our expert said, during COVID-19, someone was killed in one of the suburbs here in Johannesburg while he was drinking beer, because soldiers are not meant to do policing. But for desperate residents, they are saying maybe that's the thing. High-ranking police officers taking bribes from known criminals, and some criminals having up to 12 cases being struck off the roll or withdrawn out of nowhere. So this is what making people desperate to say, maybe outside the police, we need some solution. Whether it's going to work or it's not going to work, I think for a desperate person, they need any solution at that particular time.
Desperation is one of the key words here, because the system currently doesn't seem to be working. People are going to try to embrace anything, even the army. Let me come to you, Andy Mashaile. Security is your cup of tea. If the police system is corrupted, is not able to handle the gang violence situation or the crime situation, and you believe also that the military is not the answer, what is needed now to tackle crime? Because we all agree it's on the rise in South Africa, right?
Cash injection in the crime intelligence unit will work. Number one. Number two, drawing in defense intelligence. Defense intelligence is the intelligence from the military. Twinning defense intelligence, DI with CI, crime intelligence. Point number three, pulling in state security agency because of their capabilities. You have the three most important part forming the government institutions. And you go to your private security companies that deal with intelligence, those that have been working with the police, providing the police with intelligence. You find them in Johannesburg. For an example, Vision Tactical helps, is normally a force multiplier in tracking of criminals and crime prevention and crime combating and crime detection. So there's no any other way, my brother, that you will win this war on crime and criminality and organized, transnational organized crime anywhere in Africa without intelligence-led operations. When you deploy people, operatives from crime intelligence in those informal settlements, them wearing jumpsuits, dirty jumpsuits, mechanic jumpsuits and boots, and wearing those hard hats, they will be able to penetrate these organized crime syndicates.
There are those that argue that that is just going to take a very long time while crime continues. What's your response to that?
I have been with the police. I've led the police in the province of Gauteng as the chairman of the Community Police Board. I have written the Community Policing Strategy for SAPS 2014-2019. It is not correct because it's not correct that you're going to take a long time because you already have one detective having 4 informants by law. So all what you would need to do is to audit. In Gauteng, when I was still the boss, there were 142 police stations. You can imagine per detective, if you have 10 detectives at police station A, you would have 10 detectives multiplied by 4 informants. You have 40 informants in a given community. Now that will help you when you draw in crime intelligence. You already have a structure that you work upon. You already have a network that is defined by your local policing precincts in terms of these dynamics that I'm sharing with you. The question now that you want to ask me is, do those detective officers, those investigating officers, do they have those four informants as per the law? At most instances, you find that the investigating officer does not have informants. This detective officer does not have, that detective officer has. So from a crime intelligence point of view, you don't need to spend a lot of time. You only need to go deploy them at the nearest shebeen or tavern, whatever you want to call it, a place of entertainment in the evening, and they make friends and they buy alcohol for those guys that they are meeting with, the new friends. You'll be able to get information quickly so that you can deal with those immediately in that place of drinking.
Very well noted there. I have another scenario for you. What about a hybrid situation where in some cases for actual combat, you have the military present there while you continue on the other hand with the intelligence setup? Is that a good deal?
No, because what normally happens, there's a shooting in the streets. It's not like a formal combat situation where there's an exchange of fire between the criminal gangs and the police. Let me draw in my international experience. It's not like in Mexico where the army and the police are shooting at the organized crime gangs, the Pablo Escobar gang and the Brazilian, those Brazilian mafia who are pushing the drugs. It's not like that. You know, in the favelas in Brazil, police cars do not go into those favelas. We call the favelas mikuku in South Africa, or the shack informal settlements. Here the police can drive into those informal settlements. Now, in that instance, when you use your firepower from your R1, your rifles, where are you going to use it without causing mayhem, without killing people indiscriminately? Because these young people or these gang members would jump over the fence and shoot at the others, and the others would rush to the next street. It's
right.
not like it's not like there is a plain field where these guys are shooting at each other. They would hide behind your mom's house. I'm hiding behind my mom's house. You're shooting at me. I'm shooting at you. The army, because of the tools that they are carrying and the bulletproof vest and their head, it will be a little bit slow from a reaction point of view, as opposed to police officers who are mobile, who are not slowed down by their tools of trade, the shotguns and those rubber bullet guns, and they are not heavy and they're mobile compared to the army. The situation where you have the army protecting the police or going with the police, honestly, it's a complete waste of time.
Strong words to end your point there. So, Thuso, I find that we are having a very interesting discussion or debate about this. Is that what's happening in South Africa's parliament? Because correct me if I'm wrong, the president cannot unilaterally decide to send the military out there. It has to be parliament together making that happen. What's the consensus you're feeling so far?
The politicians are also divided on this issue. I mean, for those that are looking for a simple and fast solution, they've welcomed it, but you have got where the gangs are even more dominating in the Western Cape. You have got the DA that's in charge of that part saying this is not, policing is the best, this is not the solution. And of course, we know the Democratic Alliance there has always called for their own provincial police that's almost equal in powers with the national police, because they've had no faith in this. So you have got the DA also questioning this move by the president. But beyond that, we are likely also to see even maybe conflicts happening between the police and these soldiers, because in the Gauteng province, you had a situation whereby the Metro Police would be fighting with the National Police over thefts and over who should do what and who should do any other thing.
Right. Thanks, Thuso. Andy, you have the final words.
The army is already on the ground. And most importantly, will the community comply with the soldiers? Because the soldiers cannot read you your rights. They don't have that legal authority to say, Thuso, you are under arrest. Anything that you'll say will be used against you in a court of law. They can't read you the right. They have to have a police officer next to them. And when they go to court for cross-examination and for testifying, remember the different rules apply here. When he goes there, he goes as a witness, not as a soldier. And what are the legal dynamics? These are some of the things that makes it a challenge.
Strong points from the both of you. So army has been deployed in some parts of the country. And as things stand, really, we would have to keep tabs on the situation on the ground. And Thuso, you'll be helping us with that to see how things are developing. If the government has a different strategy this time, but from all that I've heard from Andy, who's an expert in security, it doesn't seem like this is going to work out. But as I always say, the cliche is that only time will tell. Thank you very much for sharing your insights with us. Andy Mashaile, a security strategist and retired Interpol ambassador, and Thuso Khumalo, DW correspondent in South Africa. Thank you both.
Thank you.
As we heard, this isn't the first time South Africa has turned to the military to support the police. Each time, the goal was short-term stabilization. As always, public reaction is mixed.
I think from my point, there's a mixed emotions when it comes to the army. A lot of people want the army here because they are sick and tired of the violence. It looks to them as if nothing brings solutions. So there's a good percentage of people, from my point, is that they want the army here. They're hoping that the army will bring a little bit of peace. In fact, even when we come and we create solutions, even if it's for one day, the community would start clapping hands because there's a day without shooting.
I welcome the army. I would welcome the army. I think it was in the early 2000s where the army was also deployed to come in. And then there was a state of emergency. There was order. There was people had to be in the house a certain time. And the crime went down, but when the army left, it went back to normal. So I would welcome the army, to bring some order.
Some communities desperate for safety welcome a stronger security presence, saying something has to change. Others worry that putting soldiers on the streets treats the symptoms, not the causes, and risks normalizing militarized policing in a democracy. Now, in the end, lasting security won't come from boots on the ground alone. South Africa needs stronger intelligence to dismantle criminal networks, prosecutors who can turn arrests into real convictions, and a professional police service the public can trust. Also, without economic opportunity and institutional reform, the cycle of violence simply resets. Share your thoughts with us on Facebook at DW Africa. Listen on Spotify or wherever you get your podcasts. And subscribe to our DW Africa YouTube channel so you never miss an episode. This show was co-produced and edited by Isaac Mugabi. And I am Eddy Micah Jr. Thanks for listening.
DW. Made for minds.